Check, check.
Good evening. I'm Linda Bright, and I'm running for City Council at large.
I'm Ben Davenport. I'm running for mayor of the city of Virginia Beach.
Karen Quasi, and I'm running for the Princess Anne District City Council.
Bobby Dyer, mayor.
Richard R.K. Kowalowicz, Peach District City Council.
John Moss, at large, Virginia Beach City Council.
Aaron Rouse, running the at-large race.
Eric Ray, running for Centerville District here in the city of Virginia Beach.
Tim Worst, running in Princess Anne District.
All right, so as the moderator, I'm going to take the liberty of having the first question. And then I have several questions here from the floor ready to go. As you know, most people that run for office they're not incumbents. They always run on what word? It begins with a C. Change. And then when we get in office, how do we stay in office? Maintain. So I have a question for everybody, whether you are incumbent or whether you're running for city council for the first time. Could you name one thing, meaning an initiative, not changing the way people think or feel, etc. But if you could give us one initiative, one thing that you are going to push as a change within the first 90 days you're in office. And I'm going to start with Linda. We'll just go down the road. You got time? All right. You have 2 minutes total. They have 2 minutes. You have 30 seconds up. Go. Well, the first thing in the first 90 days I've been talking about quite a bit is that we need to come up with an immediate solution to some of the flooding areas and try to work on that right away. Because we have some very smart, very sharp people in our public utilities department. We need to take advantage of their knowledge and skills. We also need to look at other cities and how they're addressing these issues and come up with it quickly. It may not be a total solution, but it'd be a better than what we're doing solution. The other thing I would look at is our children and our seniors, and looking at all-day kindergarten for our children. Our mamas and daddies work. They can't get off work and come home and meet that bus. We need to look at getting that approved ongoing.
Addie, when I was elected in 2014, I came on to a city council that was the only city on the East Coast that had a resolution in support of offshore oil drilling. One of the things that I began to do was work within the council to build consensus to get that change. I'm happy to tell you all that I was able to build consensus on council. Now the city of Virginia Beach unanimously opposes offshore oil drilling, and so I'm very proud of that change. In the first 90 days, we're going to address stormwater maintenance issues. We need to begin to execute the capital improvement plan that we have budgeted for, and we need to find creative ways to step that up. As you know, we have a 15-year program that we're in year 13 of now. We are going to figure out ways to do the projects that we can, but make no mistake about it, the reason that it's a 15-year capital improvement project plan is because we have to use scientific data to make these fixes. It doesn't do us any good to make a fix here, and if you create another problem downstream. That's why we're doing the Dewberry study in the city of Virginia Beach that's going to give us a roadmap to prioritize the projects that we are going to do that are going to have the most impact on the most amount of people.
Thank you, Karen Quasi, Princess Anne District. The first thing I will do is work to forge relationships with other council members to emphasize the value of my district to the health and well-being of the city as a whole. This is probably for me one of the most important challenges because Princess Anne District is crucial to so many of the initiatives we need to begin working on immediately. Addressing our flooding issues, economic vitality, diversifying industry. Princess Anne District is the place for the new technology corridor and the biomedical corridor. It's also the place for our third largest industry, which is agriculture. So emphasizing the value of my district needs to be my first priority, and forging relationships with other council members so I can encourage their respect and their support for the district and the role it's going to play in those other initiatives. Then I'm going to start working to make relationships with other members of other localities, other officials in other places, so that we can begin the Dewberry study recommendation work that's going to come about when we hit January. We're going to have those recommendations in place. We're going to know what they are. We're going to have an idea of what they're going to cost, and we're going to know how to prioritize those. But we're going to need regional relationships to make that happen. And so my first 90 days, it's 90 days, 3 months. What am I going to do? I'm going to work on relationships that are going to help me get done the work that needs to be done in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Bobby Dyer, Mayor. One of the things I would like to do, and I intend to do, my first 90 days, is to improve the corporate culture of the city. Once again, we got to think about inclusion. We got a lot of people in the city that feel, as individuals and businesses, disenfranchised. We have to level the playing field. We have to treat everybody equally. And the way we could also do this is bring people to the table. I want to change the budget process where we can get people in early before we go to retreat to help us set our priorities moving forward, not to wait to have a couple meetings after. We have to bring people together. We have to let everybody in the city know that they're a part of the city, and it should help us come up with the priorities, to pay for the priorities, and help not by paying by taxes. We have to create businesses. We have to change that organizational culture that any small business is easy to start and expand. And I started a process improvement task force 6 years ago. We're working on it currently, but we have to improve the corporate culture of the city.
RK Beach District. First thing is public safety, and public safety right now is stormwater. In the year 2002, we collected $10 million for stormwater fees. Today, we're collecting $40 million. We need to redirect those fees for immediate action on fixing the maintenance problems of stormwater in Virginia Beach so we can really see where the problems are on stormwater. That's a priority. It needs to be a priority number one, not 5 years, tomorrow, today, right now. I've ran my campaign on public corruption for a reason. Corruption is a city killer and it's a business killer. Atlantic City, 5 years ago, recognized they had a problem with corruption. What they did is took actions to fix it. Now the city's turned around, businesses are coming back. We need to do that in Virginia Beach. And you do that in a couple ways. A, I'll work with the delegates to change the 3100 section, which is the conflicts of interest rules. We need to stiffen some of them. We need to make some of them clearer. And then I'll also work on the city charter to make sure we have rules in place that if somebody gets their hand caught in a cookie jar, it ain't going to be a slap on the hand anymore. We have to have public trust back in our system. That is a key ingredient for all of us. Public trust, and I will work to instill that, working with all council members and all delegates and all legal agencies to make sure it gets better.
Good evening, I'm John Moss on that large seat. A couple of things I would want to do. I do think restoring confidence is our #1 priority. The confidence that our government is being fair and objective and is operating on a level playing field with all our citizens, with all our businesses. So on January 2nd, if you help me, put new people on City Council, on January 2nd is the last day Mr. Hanson works, if he hasn't already left. We need a new city manager. We need to end the culture of fear in the workplace, and we need to have a city manager who's not doing business with his buddies and undermining the council itself at times. I think anyone can see in the paper, you got to change the leadership at the top or nothing else is going to change. Secondly, I want to reintroduce the resolution to put on a referendum to change our charter, to change our electoral system, because that empowers everyone. That empowers everyone. And secondly, to revisit the budget we now have, to reallocate the money, not to take 12 years to clean the ditches and the canals. That doesn't take a Dewberry study to know that the ditches are full of dirt. We can do that now and get that done in maybe 4 years, but more rapidly. And then do something with performance pay and for our public safety officers, not 3 years from now, but go back and revisit the budget and start doing something now. And the other thing we need to do, and Bobby's right, we do need to reform the budget process. But those are three things. New city manager, more money to do flooding, take care of public safety, and a new electoral system for the city of Virginia Beach.
Good evening. Excuse my voice, I'm a little in the weather at the moment. First thing I want to do is restore the trust in our government. But what that means is that after before the campaign, everyone is in everybody's neighborhood and communities. We need to reappear. We need to go back into the communities and get a clear understanding of what we need to do. Therefore, we need to continue to build our team, continue to build Virginia Beach together. That means taking care of flooding, clearing this 12-year backlog that we have with maintenance issues as well. That means restoring the trust inside our local government, so where there is a level playing field, there is transparency, and then we end the cronyism that's here in Virginia Beach that's plagued us for so long. The third thing I want to do is make sure we value our teachers, our first responders, our police officers. We need to make sure we value them, not only just by constantly telling them who they are, but monetarily as well. So we need to go to the General Assembly to seek funds. We need to do that. I spent time in the General Assembly. I built relationships up there. I am the only candidate that's been endorsed by Governor Northam, and I expect to use that endorsement as well to make sure we bring funds down here, make sure we bring funds to go out there and proactively combat flooding issues, as well as look at infrastructure, but also talk about pay increases for our teachers and first responders. I want to make sure we do that within the first 30 days, but it's about building that team, and I intend to lead that team.
Eric Ray, running for the Centerville District. Let me just say that that as a new council person, anyone that tells you that we can make all these great changes, it's kind of unrealistic. And I kind of like to give citizens the real on things. And so the real on things is you have to learn the dynamic of council. You have to gain the respect of your peers, the trust of your peers, and so that's going to be one of the first things I'm going to do in the first 30 days. The second thing is when we talk about restoring public trust, I want to make sure that the public understands that their new council is working for them, not over them. They're not just sitting there voting already, their votes already bought and paid for, that they're actually listening to the people when they come to council, speaking on various issues. One of the things, and Pastor Poole doesn't know this yet, we're going to start the Church and Community in Action, which will meet once a week. And once a week, and we'll meet, and then I will go over the total council agenda, how we voted, why we voted. This has worked well in the city of Portsmouth. The pastors in the community, they get together, they come out, they meet. This is how you restore public trust. Not just sitting at the table and talking about things, but sitting at the table and doing something about it. And as your councilman, even though I'm in Centerville, if you're in Seatack or Kempsville or Beach District, you have a friend in Eric Ray. So that's one of the things that we're talking about, restoring public trust. The last thing is we want to make sure that we end pay compression for our police and first responders. We got to end that, get rid of that. And also with flooding and things like that. And then the 90th day is I want to make sure that we want to work on that free parking at the oceanfront for our beach residents. That's an initiative, and I've talked to a lot of people. It's very successful. People like it. They want to make sure they pay taxes here. We're going to work to get that done for our beach residents because our oceanfront is one of our best commodities, and we need to make sure that that's actually done. But that can only be done with the new council.
My name's Tim Worst. I'm running in the Princess Anne District. Eric said we can't get started. It's going to take some time. I thought we could hit the door running. I just need to find out what seat I'm sitting in that room, right? Nobody laughed. The city council, everybody gets a chair. What seat do I get to sit in? Sorry. First thing, and this has been said, first thing, and it will require 6 votes, is to terminate the city manager's contract. That makes the rest of these things easier to do. Because right now, his focus is not on flooding. That needs to be done. There's no reason you have to wait to clean pipes. There's no reason you have to wait to clean ditches. And how do you know where to start first? Who has been waiting the longest? Some of these folks in Pungo, some of these folks in Blackwater that haven't seen people for 15 years, 30 years, and they've never seen anybody in their front yard cleaning that ditch out. Shouldn't be hard to find out which ones to do first. The second and third things are, make our police officers and make our teachers important. Make them feel like our city manager is currently making our developers feel important. We need you and we want you. The third thing is to announce to Virginia and the entire East Coast that Virginia Beach is open for business without cronyism and with fair deals. That would be my plan for those first few days. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Mike Maskell. I'm running for the Lynn Haven seat on City Council. I apologize for my lateness. I had heard that the start time was at 6:30, but that's no excuse. I should be here half an hour early for everything. So as I understand it, the question is what we would change, what our priorities would be. I heard Councilman Dyer mention that people feel disenfranchised, and the reason they feel like that is because they are disenfranchised. They're disenfranchised by an electoral system that uses an old tactic of vote dilution to disenfranchise people. In particular, anybody whose group or interest represents less than a majority of the entire city population, which by definition would be any minority group. It also disenfranchises neighborhoods and communities from being able to get any representation for their issues on City Council. Because at what's supposed to be the most local level of representation, your district representative on City Council, your votes are thrown into a pool of nearly 500,000 people, the largest city population in the entire Commonwealth. And those people are spread out over the largest city land area of the Commonwealth. So what naturally happens is that money becomes the most powerful force in politics because you need the resources to be able to reach the largest area and the most people of any city in the Commonwealth, even for the most basic district level. It also means that your representative can be elected without any votes from your own district. Your Lynn Haven district rep could be elected by the entire rest of the city without anyone in Lynn Haven voting for him. And then, obviously, that district's interests are not going to be that representative priority. That's why you end up having an incumbent that would make comments like that he doesn't believe that the homes in Windsor Woods are worth enough money to spend money on flood protection in them. And that's simply the natural result of having to, for every representative, take a citywide view instead of a local view. That's my biggest priority.
So, stay right there. So, you see we don't have a whole lot, I have quite a few. But I probably have 4 or 5 people. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. So I have quite a few, but I probably have 4 or 5 people that address that very same issue. Really, and I'm going to amalgamate that, if you don't mind.